How are you? Are you having your lunch? How are you guys? Are you well?
We're pretty good.
Are you good? That's good. What's your name?
Oliver.
Oliver. Do you know what my name is?
Gray.
Oh, well done. And who's the birthday boy next week?
Harrison.
Harrison. How old are you going to be, Harrison? 4 years old? Wow. You know, I had a really, really good idea. Because you watch my musical menu shows, I thought maybe for your birthday, I'd make you a birthday cake. Is that a good idea?
Sure.
Brilliant. Okay, so now look, you've got to tell me, I've also got a song coming out about rockets and going to the moon. Do you like rockets and the moon? Okay, well, why don't I make you a moon cake next week? Does that sound like a good idea? Yes? You think so?
Chocolate.
Is chocolate your favourite? Right, well, next Tuesday, I'm going to drop a cake off to your house so that you can have a nice birthday. Is that a good idea? Oh, they say never work with children or animals, but you know, why not? Okay, thanks Katie. Well, I'll see you on Tuesday with a 4-year-old's moon birthday cake. Bye. See you later. Bye. Whenever I make wedding cakes or birthday cakes or any sort of celebration cake, especially ones that I have to ice, it usually takes 2 or 3 days. So I need a cake that's got a really high fat content like a mud cake. So today I'm going to make a chocolate mud cake. It's really, really easy to make and will last, without going stale, up to a week. In a saucepan, melt 250 grams of butter, 375 grams of dark chocolate with 600 mils of hot water. Keep stirring until everything is combined. Let this mixture cool down before you move on to the next stage. Combine 450 grams of self-raising flour with 400 grams of brown sugar. Mix this together. Once the chocolate mixture has cooled, add half to the flour mixture and beat together. Then add the remaining chocolate mixture, 4 beaten eggs and 3 tablespoons of yogurt. Grease and line 2 cake tins and put half in each. Bake in the oven for 30 to 45 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. To put this cake together, I'm using a simple chocolate ganache. I found 2 bags of chocolate. This is a milk chocolate, 375 grams each, and 600 mils of thickened cream does the trick. All you need to do, heat up the cream, add the chocolate. To make it a little bit faster, I tend to whiz up the chocolate in the Thermomix before I add it to the cream. Bring the cream to the boil. Then add your chocolate, stir it in and let it sit for a few minutes. Once everything has got to the same temperature, you can slowly stir it through until it's silky smooth. Place in a plastic container, cover in glad wrap and leave sitting on the bench or in the fridge. It's time to make our moon cake. I always find the best thing to do first is to do our decorations. We've got some gum paste here, I need to roll it out, and I've got a 4 cutter and Harrison ready for his name to go on the cake. We need to get these into an oven with the light on, just so they'll dry out so I can put them on the cake. So here we go, we need to knead this until it's nice and smooth, and then roll it out nice and thin. So we've cut out our 4, just poke it out there. Now we need to put it on a tray so I can get it into that warming oven. Now for his name. It's quite good to dip these in corn flour. Just makes them come out a little bit easier. Especially these tiny little letters. That's his name and his age, all cut out in gum paste. Throw that in the oven overnight and that'll go nice and hard. The next thing we need to do is cut up our cakes. Here we've got our 2 mud cakes that have been in the fridge, wrapped in Glad wrap overnight to keep them nice and moist. So we're going to cut the tops off, cut them in half, but don't throw away those tops because we're actually going to use that to make our moon later. Always best to get a turntable and turn the cake, leaving the knife still. That way you can get a nice even cut. Right, let's put our cake together. We've got 2 things to put in between the layers of this cake. First of all, our ganache, which we made yesterday. I've had that sitting on the bench now so it gets to about room temperature, and some hot jam. That just keeps the cake really moist. Here we go. So we've done our first bottom piece. We then get our next piece, turn it over, get some of that hot jam and just spread it over the cake. You can also use a sugar syrup for this, basically equal parts sugar and water, but I think the jam is absolutely delicious. Put that down, another layer of ganache. Right, so there's our cake all ready to cut. Now I'm going to put that in the fridge for about half an hour, just so it'll let it solidify, then I'll be able to carve it much easier. Okay, so we've got our nice cold cake now. We need to cut it into a moon shape. To stop it moving around, we're just going to put some stakes right the way through it. That's just going to help me carve it without any of the cakes moving too much. If you can do it without, that's fine, but this is just a little bit easier. Now we're going to waste a lot of cake now, but we are going to reuse it, so make sure you have your bowl ready. Okay, now comes the fun but messy part. Take your old cake and just crumble it into your mixer. Yes, it's going to get very messy. This is also the way that you make cake pops. Old cake that you've added a bit of ganache to and then put in the fridge. Turn them into pops, put a stick in them, you've got cake pops. Really easy. And also fun if you've got kids. So there we've got all our cake in there. I'm going to put a couple of big scoops of the ganache in there. This will hold all the cake together. This will turn it into crumbs, and then you just need to add enough ganache so it actually turns into sort of a sticky, gooey mess. You'll be able to see when you run your hands through it how you can mould it. A little bit like Play-Doh. I think it needs a little bit more ganache. That in there. Very messy job. Let's just get all of that out there and we'll start spreading it on the cake. Well, there is really no nice, neat way of doing this. It's pretty much grab some of this stuff and start modelling. I'm going to put most of this around the bottom so the cake's a little bit wider, but I want to save some to make some craters at the end. Now we need to organise our fondant. You need to knead this for 5 to 10 minutes to get it nice and smooth. We don't have to worry too much today because we do want a nice sort of uneven texture on it, but it's good to get it nice and smooth when you roll it out. I often put this in the microwave for about 10 seconds just to make it a little bit more pliable. So let's get kneading. I think that's about enough. You can usually tell when it's ready when one side goes very, very smooth and silky. So now we have to roll it out. I'm going to put a little bit of this ganache on this cake just as another layer. You don't have to be too fussy about this because obviously no one's going to see it. But it is delicious. Well, there we go. There's our moon. Doesn't really look like a moon yet, but it will soon. So I'm going to put that back in the fridge for for another half an hour just to let it all solidify before I put the fondant on top. Now, because I'm making a moon cake, I don't want the fondant to be nice and smooth, so I've grabbed a very nice clean tea towel, or it's got a bit of icing sugar on it there, and I'm going to press it down into the fondant and roll it. Hopefully what that'll do is it'll give a nice uneven texture to the fondant. Move it around a bit so it's not even. There we go. Now, getting it on the cake is always the fun part. Roll it up on your rolling pin, drape it over the cake, and then push into it with your hands to make those little craters. Sometimes you need to push the edges down like this, lift them up, and then push down. It stretches the fondant to conform with the cake. Once you've got that about right, let's cut off that excess fondant. Get a knife, just cut around the edge. Again, turn the cake, leaving the knife still. Now we make our craters. Find those little craters, press around them, press into the middle. Doesn't matter if there's a couple of finger marks and stuff, because let's face it, the moon isn't smooth. Now it's time to paint our cake. I usually use an airbrush when I'm doing that, but most people don't have one of those. So I'm going to use a brand new sponge and some food colouring that's actually designed for cakes. I didn't have any black or grey, so what I've done is put some silver in there with a little bit of blue. That's pretty good. Let's try that. Great thing about using a sponge is it's not going to be even, which is exactly what I want. So just dab it on all the way over. If you want to be creative, you could do a completely different colour. The moon doesn't have to be grey, it could be pink or red or orange. Now we're going to let this cake dry overnight before we do anything else to it. Now we've got the final touches for this cake. First thing I need to do is just put a little bit of paint on the words and that little "for" there. Then I'm going to sprinkle them with some glitter dust, just for a bit of sparkle. And then finally I'm going to get my cake, put a little bit of luster dust on that too. The last thing I need to do for my cake now is to put it onto a presentation plate, get those letters and numbers on there, a little figurine, and transport it to the birthday boy.
Let's build a rocket, it will be fun. See the flames go soaring as we pass the sun. The earth is smaller, looks like a ball. We are flying into space, come one, come all. Space suits on, we'll take off soon. Like the cow jumping over the moon.
My goodness, it's so chocolatey!
How's that?
Well, that was awesome. We saw the stars. Maybe next time we can fly as far as Mars. We saw the craters upon the moon. Maybe we can fly again this afternoon.
Find us on Facebook and Instagram.
The recipes are on musicalmenus.com.au.
Let's start counting down from 10. Zoom to the moon and back again. 10, 9, 8, 7,